Hello students, today again we are here with the new chapter from your book Supplementary Reader Footprints Without Feet, that is chapter number 7, The Necklace. It's written by Guy de Maupassant. The story revolves around a lady who aspired the things which were not possible for her. So let's see what sort of things she aspired and what happened with her later on. She was one of those pretty. Here the lady is Madame Loisel. She was Madame Loisel, the lady. She aspired the things. She was very pretty lady. Young ladies born as if though through an error of destiny. Through an error of destiny into family of clerks. She had no dowry, no hopes, no means of becoming known, loved, married by a man either rich or distinguished, and she allowed herself to marry a petty clerk in the office of Board of Education. She was simple, she was unhappy. So now this story revolves around Matilda Loisel, who was very pretty lady, and because it looks as if it was God's error of destiny itself that she was pretty also, and she wanted a luxurious life also, but she was born in a poor family, in the family of clerks. Later on, she was married even to a clerk itself who was in the office of Board of Education, who was appointed there. And though she was very simple, but this lady was always unhappy for the reason because she wanted to have luxurious life. But here, born in a poor family, then with a meager salary, a husband, she could not fulfill her all desires. So she always remained unhappy. She was never satisfied with her life. She suffered incessantly, continuously, feeling herself born of all delicacies and luxuries. She suffered from poverty of her apartment, the shabby walls, the worn chairs, all things tortured and angered her. Whenever she saw her poor house, the house in bad condition, which was not painted beautifully, which was having shabby walls, and the chair furniture was worn, she was very unhappy and she was very angry over that she was having such a life. So, but husband was of opposite nature. Whenever he came to her, in front of her, she tried to praise all the things, because till now he may have understood that why his wife was unhappy. So he tried to appreciate for everything. So when she seated herself for dinner opposite her husband, who uncovered the tureen with a delighted air. Tureen here is a serving bowl. So husband whenever, because he wanted to make this lady happy. So how he spoke, oh, good pot pie. Whenever anything simple was there, so he always praised that, see, this is so beautiful, so good pot pie is there. You have served in that. I am very happy. A good pot pie you have made in the tureen, in beautiful things you have made for me, and I'm happy. So this he tried to show that he was very happy and she should also feel happiness in his happiness, but actually she was not happy at all and she was not flattered at all whenever he spoke like that you have made a good thing for me. She would think of the elegant dinners of shining silver. She thought of exquisite food served in the marvelous dishes. Whereas, opposite of the husband, what she was thinking, she always thought that she was having elegant dinners and in beautiful silver utensils and good food served, marvelous dishes made, and she is serving. So she all the time she imagined those type of things, but this was not possible for them. She had neither frocks nor jewels, nothing, and she loved only those things. She was fond of the beautiful clothes, she was fond of the jewelry, but there was nothing with her. So she remained unhappy. She had a rich friend, a schoolmate at the convent, who did not like to visit. She suffered so much when she returned. There was a friend of her, and she was maybe from the school time, she was a schoolmate, and because she was married to a rich family, so whenever she went to her friend, so she felt very jealous and she does not want to go back to this lady because she was jealous of the luxurious life she was having. She wept for the whole day from despair and disappointment. So whenever she met her friend, the whole day was spoiled. She remained in despair all the time. So one evening her husband returned elated, bearing in his hand a large envelope. So they came when her husband, because husband here want to make her happy anyways, so he got a chance. Now he was very happy on the day when he came there. What was there? He was elated. Elated is he was very happy. There was a large envelope in his hand. In the envelope, something was there. Here, he said, here is something for you. And he's trying to give a surprise to the lady that, see, I have brought something for you. She quickly drew out a printed card, and this now Madame Loises, she wanted to see what was there. She quickly drew out the printed card on which were inscribed these words. It was a card. It was a card. Some invitation card was there. Minister of Public Instruction and Madame George Ramponneau asked the honor of Mr. and Madame Loisel's company. Monday evening, January 18, at Minister's residence. So it was an invitation. They have been invited by a royal family for the dinner. They have been asked there. So instead of being delighted, but she was not happy. Because she was always imagining the things in her the life, that she was having a luxurious dinner, and now she got a chance. Still she was not happy, she was not delighted. So as her husband had hoped, she threw the invitation spitefully, hatefully upon the table, murmuring, what do you suppose I want with that? So what she did, she read the card and then threw it away. And husband was very surprised that why she has thrown it away. She should have been happy. But my dearie, I thought it would make you happy. You never go out, and this is an occasion, and a fine one. He's saying, yeah, good opportunity we are getting. You never go out for any party when we are getting the chance. Why are you not happy? Husband asked her. Everybody wishes me that it is very select. Not many are given to employees. Saying we are very fortunate because this royal family hasn't called many people, and we are fortunate that we are getting the opportunity of their company. You should be happy. You will see the whole official world there. She looked at him with an irritated eye and declared impatiently, what do you suppose I have to wear to such a thing as that? Now, what was her anger over? Anger was that I don't have any good dress, and what do you want? Should I go in these simple clothes to that party? So, this was the reason of her angerness. So, she was irritated. Now, husband who seems helpless here, he hadn't thought of that. He stammered. Now he hesitatingly spoke because he never expected that now she will be asking, demanding for the dress also. Why the dress you wear when we go to the theater? It seems very pretty to me. He was silent, stupefied in a dismay. He was very in a bad mood now. He was puzzled over that what this was happening, why she was not happy. And she said, you are having a dress which you wore on the theater when we went there, so you will look beautiful in that. He tried to console her, then you can wear that dress. At the sight of his wife weeping, and she was weeping, he was very puzzled and he was sad at that moment. He again stammered, again he spoke to her, what's the matter, what's the matter? When he saw the wife weeping, because he was a soft hearted person, he could not see his wife weeping, so he wanted to know the reason. Now by a violent effort she had controlled her vexation. Now vexation is irritation her. Now because this man wanted to ask the reason. Now she calmed herself, and then she spoke, wiping her moist cheeks. Nothing, only I have no dress, and consequently I can't go to this affair, she's saying, because I don't have beautiful dress, so I will not go with you in the party. Give your car to some colleague whose wife is better fitted than me. So what she's saying, she's denying that proposal. She's saying, I will not go, give the car to someone else because I don't have any good dress, so I can't go along with you there. So now husband is very grieved over, he was very saddened over the situation. He wanted to tackle but with this problem, he was grieved but answered. He was very sad, but he answered politely, let us see, Matilda, how much would a suitable costume cost? Something that would serve for other occasions, something very simple. Now because he wanted to do anything for the sake of happiness of the wife, so he tried to ask her, okay, if you don't have dress, let's have a simple dress which you can wear on other occasions also. We'll have a dress, I will arrange for you. She reflected for some seconds, thinking of the sum she could ask for without bringing with an immediate refusal and a frightened exclamation from the economical clerk. Now she is clever here. She's thinking about, she thought the amount, that how much the husband can pay, so that because he will pay that much only if he will be having that amount. She thought a lot, and then After some time what she spoke, because her husband was economical, he was not having a big salary, a meager salary he was having. Finally she said, hesitating voice, I can't tell exactly, but it seems to me that 400 francs. 400 francs. Francs is the currency of France. So she is saying nothing. 400 francs she is mentioning here. Maybe the husband was having this much amount. So she knew it. She knew it. The amount is there in the house, and she will be able to purchase a good dress in that amount. So she told, because now husband was asking and he will not deny. So she told her desire that she want that much money so that she can purchase her dress. Now husband became pale. He turned a little pale. He did not expect that much money from her side, but now when he has said that he will arrange for her and he will be arranging for her, so he said okay, it's okay, for he had saved just this sum to buy a gun that he might be able to join some hunting parties next summer. Some friends who went to shoot larks on Sunday. Nevertheless, he answered, very well, I will give you 400 francs, but try to have a pretty dress. So he had saved some money. It was for hunting parties. Some of his friends used to go for hunting the larks. Larks is a bird. So they used to go for hunting. He also thought he will bring. He added some money he had was having. Then he saved some money for purchasing a gun. But now when wife was asking, then he agreed. He said okay. He compromised that he will take his gun later on. He said okay, you can have a beautiful dress with that money. The day of ball approached. Ball is dance party. So the day came when the dance party was there, and Madame Loisel seemed sad, disturbed, anxious. Nevertheless, her dress was nearly ready. Her husband said to her evening, what's the matter with you? You have acted strangely for 2 or 3 days. Now the dress she already had purchased. Still, the days of the ball when were coming nearer, still she was unhappy. And husband again now, who could not see her feeling unhappy, he asked the reason, that what is wrong with you, what happened now, why are you unhappy? Then she responded, now what was her problem? I am vexed. Now she's saying, I'm vexed, I'm irritated, I'm confused over not to have a jewelry, nothing to adorn myself with. Saying, I am irritated because I have now a good dress, but what is the next problem? The jewel. I don't have any jewelry. I shall have such a poverty stricken look. I would prefer not to go to this party. She's saying, if I don't have any jewelry, I will be having only the dress. I will look a poverty stricken lady. So I will look a poor lady there, and all will look towards me down. So I will not go to the party. Better I do not go. So now again the husband, he's helpless. He's saying she will not go to the party. Now what to do for that? Let's do something so that she goes. He replied, you can wear some natural flowers. This season they look very chic. Chic is elegant, fashionable. He's saying no problem, if you don't have the jewelry, you can have the flowers, garland, flowers. You can decorate yourself. You can with the flowers. So these are fashionables nowadays. Fashionables, these flowers jewelry are fashionable nowadays. You can wear those. She was not convinced, but she was not convinced, because she had made up something in her mind. No, she replied, there is nothing more humiliating than to have a shabby air in the midst of rich women. She's saying, when I will go in the midst of rich ladies and will be having the shabby, all will look towards me as if I am a downcast person, a poor poverty stricken lady, I will not feel good. So not at all, I will not go without jewelry there. So this was her next condition. Now her husband cried out. Now husband's patience was breaking. He cried out just, how stupid we are. Go and find your friend Madame Forestier. Madame Forestier. Forestier here is the friend of Madame Loisel, who studied with her in convent. Asked her to lend her jewels. Now he lost, maybe he was going to lose the control, but he managed. He said, okay, no problem, your friend Madame Forestier is there. She is rich enough, she's having maybe having a lot of jewelries, you can borrow from her. She uttered a cry of joy, and this idea did not come to Madame Loisel's mind. She was very happy. She said, yes, it's true. She said, I haven't thought of that. And the next day she took herself to her friend's house, related her story of distress. Madame Forestier went to the closet, to her almirah, took out a large jewel case, bought it, opened it, and said, choose, my dear. And Madame Forestier, who was a polite lady, a friendly lady, who never boasted about the things also, when Madame Loisel told her that she wanted a jewelry, so she very politely she took out her jewel box and said her to choose any of from these. And this lady, she was now going to choose, but here also, because she was puzzled in nature, so what she's looking, she saw at first some bracelets, then collar of pearls, then Venetian cross of gold, jewels of admirable workmanship, and she tried the jewel before the glass hesitated but could not either decide to take them or leave them. And she asked, "Have you nothing more?" So many different jewels were there in her box. The bracelets were there, the pearls necklaces were there, and different type of jewels which were very beautiful. She was confused also, she could not choose any. So when she could not choose, she's asking her, so many were given but she's not satisfied. She's saying, "Are you having something else? Give me something else." "Why, yes, look for yourself, I don't know what will please you." And the lady, who's very polite, she's saying, "Okay, I will arrange something for you, you just choose from these, or then you can, I'm having all these only, you can choose anyone, I don't have any problem." Suddenly she discovered in a black satin box a superb necklace of diamonds. Her hand trembled as she took out. She placed it before her throat against her dress and was ecstatic. Now, suddenly what she observed, ecstatic here, ecstatic is joyful. Joyful. Then she asked in a hesitating voice, full of anxiety, "Could you lend me this one? Only this?" "Why, yes, certainly." Now, this lady, when she suddenly what she observed, that in a black satin box there was a superb necklace, a beautiful necklace. It was made up of diamonds, and when she saw it, she was hesitating to ask because it was a diamond necklace. Her friend may deny, and when he asked her, she asked her friend, "Can you lend me this?" Then this lady, the polite lady who wanted to help her friend, she said, "Okay, you can have, I don't have any problem." So she agreed, convinced with her friend. She fell upon the neck of her friend and embraced her with her passion, and they went with her treasure. Treasure is that diamond necklace. She was very happy. She hugged her friend, and then she went away from there. And the day of ball arrived, the day of dance party arrived here. Madame Loisel was a great success. She was prettiest of all, elegant, gracious, smiling, full of joy. All the men noticed her, asked her name, wanted to be presented. And here, when this lady was there in a beautiful, because she was already beautiful, she was already, and now she was beautifully dressed, and she was having beautiful jewel also, so she was looking extremely pretty. So everyone in the party was looking towards her, everyone was praising to her, toward her, and she was very happy. Then she became a center of attraction for all. She danced with enthusiasm, intoxicated with pleasure, thinking of nothing but all admiration. This victory so complete, sweet to her heart. Now she was very happy, and happy in the sense then everyone was praising. She wanted only this sort of things in her life, where she was praised for everything, where she was observed by everyone, and she was very happy. And on that day she danced a lot, and she was very happy on that day, on that night, because it was night time then the party was taking place. So now she went with home towards 4 o'clock in the morning. Her husband had been half asleep in one of his little saloons since midnight, with three other gentlemen whose wives were enjoying themselves very much. He threw around her shoulders some modest wraps they had carried, whose poverty clashed with elegance of ball costume. She wished to hurry away in order not to be noticed by other women who were wrapping themselves in a rich furs. And now, the day this party went for long, it was 4 o'clock in the morning when this party was over, and her husband was he was not enjoying anymore. Maybe he was tired because the whole day he worked, and now he was sleeping, taking some rest in the room. And she then went there, then both of them they went away from there, and because it was maybe the chill night, so she was having some cold was there, so she wrapped her clothes with a wrap. And it was, the wrap was a simple one, because she didn't have the wrap like rich ladies who were having the rich furred wraps. She was not having like those, so she wanted to go away quickly from there, so that she is not observed by other people that she was having so simple wrap is that shawl, the shrug or the cover to cover the body upper part. Loisel detained her. Now, Loisel, Mr. Loisel, now he is stopping her. He said her, wait, said he, I am going to call a cab, a taxi. He said, you wait here, I will call a taxi. Just stay here, I am going to call. But she wouldn't listen and descended the steps rapidly. But she doesn't want to stop at that place because might be other ladies and gentlemen, they will be observing this lady was going in a taxi, or she was having simple rap, that shrug, and they might be observing her poverty. So she went hurriedly from there, and they were now walking to the street. They found no carriage, and they began to seek for one, hailing the coachman whom they saw at a distance. Then suddenly they got a carriage, a cart they got, and they settled down in that, and then started going back to the home. Then next thing what happened, they walked along towards the river, hopeless and shivering. Finally they found one of those old carriages that one sees in Paris after nightfall. It took them as far as their door, and they went wearily because they were tired after the whole night's party, to their apartment. It was all over for her. On this part he and on his part he remembered that he would have to be at the office by 10 o'clock. So now they were back in the same room, and she, for her, because she wanted the things which are beautiful, luxurious parties, and the all the things, luxurious dinner, dinner, elegant dinner she wanted in her, she had for that night, but it was all over for her now. She was feeling bad, and the husband was not caring about the things much, because maybe in the morning by 10 o'clock he has to go office also. So he just started doing his other works. She removed the wrap from her shoulders, and before the glass for a final view of herself in the glory, suddenly she uttered a cry. Her necklace was not around her neck. And so now what happened, when she the wrap was removed by her, what she observed when she was standing in front of the mirror, that the necklace was not around her neck. Now she was afraid that what this happened, where the necklace had gone, when it was not of her, it was of someone else. Loisel, already half undressed, Mr. Loisel, who was taking out his clothes, asked, what's the matter? She turned towards him excitedly. I have no longer have Madame Forestier's necklace. He arose in dismay. How is that? Isn't that, it is not possible. So this man is shocked. She's told that I have lost Madame Forestier's necklace. He uttered in a bad tone, in a sad tone, he said, this is not, should not happen, because this is of someone else. And they looked in the folds of the dress, in the folds of the cloak, in the pockets, everywhere. They could not find it. He asked, are you sure you still had it when you left the minister's house? Now they tried to search it in their clothes, in the pockets, everywhere, but it was not there. So husband is confirming, do you remember that you were having it in your neck when you were in the house of ministers? Yes, I felt it as we came out. She's saying, yes, I was having, when we were coming out of the hotel, out of that room, I felt that it was around my neck. But if you had lost it in the street, we should have heard it's a fall. It must be in the cab. Yes, it is possible. Did you take the number? No. And you, did you notice what it was? No. They looked at each other, uttered, cast down. Finally, Loisel dressed himself again. So he's asking, inquiring that if it would have fallen in the street, we may have heard the noise. It means it may have been left in the taxi. So they are now again, Mr. Loisel, the poor man who had to go to office, but now he wanted to get that necklace back, because they have to return it, and it was very costly. So he ran back. I'm going, he said, over the track where we went on foot, to see if I can find it. He went, she remained in her evening gown, not having the force to go to the bed. Towards 7 o'clock, her husband returned. He found nothing. And husband, the poor husband, he keep on searching it. He went to that place where they walked on foot, and he could not find. At 7 o'clock, when he returned back, he was hopeless, and there was nothing. He got back. So it was a condition, critical situation for them when they have to arrange for that necklace. He went to the police, to the cab officers, and put an advertisement in the newspaper offering a reward. She waited all the day in a state of bewilderment. Bewilderment is puzzled. Now, because this necklace they could not find, so he went to the police and to the cab officers also, so that anyone if knew the cab taxi driver, they can tell to him, and he put even newspaper advertisements were given that they will give a reward if someone return their necklace. But all went waste, nothing happened. And the lady who could not do anything, just sitting at one place and waiting for the husband to come back and tell what happened, she was all the time waiting in a very bad condition. She was now where frustration, she was now that what will happen now. What he is saying, she waited all the day in a state of bewilderment before this frightful disaster. Loisel returned in his face pale. He had discovered nothing. He said, write to your friend that you have broken the clasp of the necklace and that you will have it replaced, and they will we will give us some time, we'll return it back. So now husband advised this lady, his wife, clasp here, clasp of necklaces. Clasp is a clutch, a lock where the this necklace is closed. He's saying, okay, now we haven't found the necklace, we need some time to arrange for the necklace. So better you tell to your friend that clasp lock of the necklace is broken and we will get it repaired, we'll soon give you. So this way they got some chance so that they can arrange a new necklace for this lady. She wrote as he dictated. So she wrote the message to her friend, whatever her husband had said. At the end of the week, they had lost all hope, and Loisel, older by 5 years, declared, we must replace this jewel. 5 years, older by 5 years. The husband, who, because he was now in tension that how they are going to pay it back. It was too costly and they don't have that much amount, and he was looking more than his age. Now he was thinking now what to do. In a shop of Polaris Royal, they found a chaplet of diamond. So now they went to a shop. A chaplet is a garland. So they went to that place, royal shop, where they can get the same necklace they have lost. And now, to exactly like the one they had lost, it was valued as 40,000 francs. And the original diamond necklace, when they asked the price of this necklace, it was looking same. So what was the price? 40,000 francs. So they could get it for, but the deal was, because the deal was made, so they can get it for 36 francs, 36,000 francs. So but this much amount they didn't have. Loisel possessed 18,000 which his father had left him. So how much money was with them? It was 18,000, and the cost of this was double, 36,000. Double cost was there, and they now will have to arrange that much money which they didn't have. So he borrowed the rest. So what they did, some money he was having which his father left for him, so the rest of the money he borrowed from some other sources. He made ruinous promises, took money from the usurers, and the whole usurers are the people who lend money. So he requested the people to lend him money. He made some promises that he will return on time, whole race of lenders. And then he went to get new necklace, depositing on the merchant's country 36,000 francs. Then finally he got the money and he purchased it for 36 francs, and then they returned it. When Madame Loisel took back the jewels to Madame Forestier, the latter said, latter is Mrs. Forestier. She said in a frigid tone, in an angry tone, because they were in a harsh tone. Now she spoke, you should have returned to me sooner, for I might have needed them. Now this lady, who did not know what happened, and they took a lot of time to give it back. So she just tell in a harsh tone that, why didn't you give it earlier? I may have needed it, you should have returned it on time. So she did not know, but actually what happened with them. So now Madame Forestier did not open the jewel box as Madame Loisel feared she would. Madame Loisel, because there was fear in her mind, they have done something wrong and there was fear. Then if Madame Forestier opened the box and she finds some difference and she will ask her, then what she will say, but she did not open at all. She kept it without opening. What would she think if she perceived the substitution, that it was not a real one, it was a substitution of it, a copy of it? What she would say? Would she take her the whole for a robber? Would she consider her a robber, a thief who had stolen her? So her this type of fear was coming in her mind. Madame Loisel now knew the horrible life of necessity. Now she understood what actually till now she was living a happy life, but she was not contented. A happy life, that much amount was there that they could eat properly, they can live properly, but she was not happy. And now the horrible life of necessity started, where needs were there, they didn't have that much money. Now she understood the real meaning of the life. She did her part, however, completely heroically. But here, from there, she understood the lesson of the life, and now heroically she started her duty. It was necessary to pay this frightful debt, because they had taken the debt. So, this money they have taken from the people is to be given back to the people. So, now she would pay it. They sent away the maid, they changed their lodgings, they rented some rooms in an attic is in on the roof space. So now her life changed. Till now they were living a good life, maybe not so luxurious, but it was good. But what change came? They were living in their own house, but now they left that, and now they left that residence. Now they took on the rent, a small house, a small room in the top floor. And the maids which were working for her, they removed, they sent them also away, and now she herself worked, and now they were living in a small room. She learned the odious work of the kitchen. And now odious is the dirty work, the foul work, the dirty work of the kitchen. Till now she didn't work in the kitchen also, but now she started working on her own. She washed the dishes also, she washed the soiled linen also, their clothes and dish clothes. And when she hung on the line to dry, she took down to refuse to the street coach morning, brought up the water, stopping at each landing to catch her breath, and flowed like a women of the people. She went to the grocers, the butchers, the fruiterers, and her basket on her arm, shopping, haggling to the lasso of her miserable money. Now it was her life. Now a change, totally changed. Haggling is a bargain. She made bargains, and so here is a French coin. So what sort of changes came in her life? Now till now, what she was doing now, she did all the household works also. She brought water also from downwhere somewhere, and she herself did all the household chores also. And then she went to grocers also, butchers also, fruiterers also. And shopping, when she was doing, she always bargained, even for a last, so for a French coin. Well, for this one French coin, she struggled hard, she bargained with from the people to save some money from there. So this way her life was changing, had changed. Now husband works, and what husband also suffered because of her. He till now he was a clerk working smoothly, but now he was doing the work in shifts. He worked in the evening also, put the books of some merchants in order, and night he often did copying at 5 sous so a page. Now this man, who was otherwise he was hard working to pay back the loan, he had to do extra work. So he wrote some books for the merchants, he arranged the books also. Then at night he did some copy work also, and for that he got 5 coins. And for doing one page he got 5 coins. And this life lasted for 10 years. For 10 years they keep on working hard, both of them worked very hard for 10 years. Then only they were able to collect that much money which was to be given back. At the end of 10 years they had restored all, and after 10 years the old debt, the old money loan they have taken, they were able to return. Madame Loisel seemed old now, but the change in their life have come because of doing a lot of works. Madame Loisel, who was a pretty lady sometimes, now she looks old. She older than her age she looked. She had become a strong, hard woman, crude woman of the poor household. Now crude is a simple, natural lady, a simple lady. Her hair badly dressed, her skirts is dirty, and her hands red. Her hands were swollen because she was working too hard. And she spoke in a loud tone. She washed the floors with large pails, pails bucket of water. But sometimes when her husband was at the office, now what change came in her life, that she was becoming and looking like an aged woman. Now her dress, hair were always badly dressed, she was badly dressed always, her hair unkempt, and her skirts was dirty, hands were swollen because of working very hard. And some time when her husband was on the job, in the job somewhere in the office, so she used to sit and think over what happened a day when she went for the ball. Still she imagined that scene, that she was in a party where she looked so beautiful and so flattered, everyone was praising for her. She imagined that scene. Now, how would it have been if she had not lost the necklace? Who knows how singular is the life, how full of changes, how small a thing will ruin or save one. One Sunday, as she was talking a walk in the Champs Elysees to rid herself of the cares of the week, she suddenly perceived a woman walking with a child. She was Madame Forestier. Still young, still pretty, still attractive. Madame Loisel was affected. Should she speak to her? Yes, certainly. And now, when she had paid, she would tell her all. Why not? Now, what happened one night when she was wanted, after doing all the chores, she wanted some rest, she went outside, and when she was moving on this place Champs Elysees, she saw there a lady who was known, and it was the lady Madame Forestier. She was still young, as she looked many 10 years ago. She was having a small child with her, and now Madame Loisel thought that, shall I talk with my friend or not? Then she said, of course, because now till now they have paid the loan and now they are living a normal life. So now she can talk with her friend. She approached her. Good morning, Jean. Good morning, Jean. Her friend did not recognize her and was astonished to be so familiarly addressed by this common personage. Common personage, a common lady who was. She stammered, but madam, I don't know. You must be mistaken. When she talked with her, and Jean was maybe her name, her friends or the family members called her Jean. Now, Madame Forestier, she did not recognize, because Madame Loisel had changed totally. She looked ugly now. She looked old now, and she said, excuse me, do you know me? No, I am Matilda Loisel. Then she told that I am Loisel. Her friend uttered a cry of astonishment. Friend was very surprised. Oh, my poor Matilda, how have you changed, that you have changed so much? What happened with you? So you have changed, I could not identify who you are. Then again, this was the turn of Matilda. Yes, I have had some hard days since I saw you, some miserable ones, and all because of me. How is that? She's saying, yes, I was having some miserable time actually. All this is because of you. And look older than my age because of you. Now, friend was very surprised that because of me. How is that? What happened? I didn't do anything. You recall the diamond necklace that you loaned me to wear to minister's ball? Yes, very well. Well, I lost it. How is that, since you returned to me? Now, friend is surprised. She's saying, how can you say I am how you are blaming me for your conditions? She said, you gave me a diamond necklace. Actually, I lost it, and the necklace I returned, I lost it. Now, this lady was surprised. She said, you lost it? I returned another to you exactly like that, and it has taken us 10 years to pay for it. You can understand that it was not easy for us who have nothing, but it is finished and I am decently content, satisfied. Now Mrs. Lloyd is saying, actually we lost it, and we then purchased a new one which looks similar like yours, and then we because of that we have to pay a lot of money for that necklace, and now Madame Forestier, she stopped short. She could not understood that what this happened, and she could not, she for a moment she was shocked. So you say that you bought a diamond necklace to replace mine? She again asked her, are you sure? Are you saying that you purchased a diamond necklace to replace my necklace? Then, yes, you did not perceive it then. They were just alike. Now, Madame Loisel is feeling happy that, okay, you could not identify then. Actually, because they both were same. Yours was, and that copy we made of the diamond, all both were same. She smiled with proud and simple joy. And the lady, Madame Forestier, there was on the face there was a smile, some sort of smile, as if a proud smile, as if that what this happened. Madame Forestier was touched, but she at the same time she was saddened. Why saddened? Because of the condition of the friend. So what she said, she took both of the hands, she replied, "Oh my poor Matilda, mine were false, and they were not both over 500 francs." So what she told, why she was feeling saddened over, because this lady is saying that they have taken a new diamond necklace to replace her, and it cost 36,000 to them. And now her friend was telling, "My poor Matilda, sorry for that, but it was artificial. Mine was false, artificial necklace. It was just worth of 500 francs only, and you are saying you gave us a new one." So this way it was a shock for Madame Loisel also, which changed her life, which changed everything, and the whole life was changed. And Madame Forestier, who is feeling sad for this lady who suffered so much because of that necklace. So this is the chapter, and you can see that how if we are not cautious about doing the things in our lives, if we aspire the things which are not possible for us, how we can make our lives miserable, how we can make our lives poor, like Matilda did. She aspired the things which she was not satisfied with what she was having, and she wanted something more, and that spoiled her life. Okay, so this is the chapter. Thank you.